The power went out 3 days ago. You told yourself it was just a storm. Then the tap sputtered brown, then nothing. Now it's day 9, and your kid is asking why the toilet smells like that, and you're staring at a can of black beans, wondering if you can eat them cold, and realizing you don't even own a can opener that isn't electric. Outside, somebody is screaming. Not in danger. In anger. That's different. That's worse. The grocery store 2 blocks down has a broken window and a smell coming out of it like a dead animal convention. Your phone is a $200 paperweight. You're curled on the bathroom floor. Your neighbors, the nice ones with the golden retriever, stopped waving yesterday. And somewhere in the back of your mind, a cold little voice is whispering the thing nobody on TV has said yet. This isn't ending next week. Here's the part they won't put on the news. It's not the bombs or the bullets or the hurricane that kills most people when society trips over its own shoelaces. It's the first 90 days. And 90% of folks, the nice ones, the smart ones, the ones with Peloton bikes and good credit, they won't make it through. Not because they're weak, because they believed the lie that somebody was coming to help. But stick with me, because you and I are going to walk through the 3 killers of the first 90 days, and you're going to learn the one habit that separates the survivors from the statistics. I'll tell you what it is near the end. It's smaller than you think, and it has nothing to do with guns. Let's talk numbers, because this is where they lied to you. FEMA's own internal studies show that if the power grid goes down nationally for 1 year, up to 90% of the American population could die. That's not a prepper's fever dream. That's a 2017 congressional report. The average city has about 3 days of food on shelves. 3. Hospitals run on backup generators that carry maybe 96 hours of diesel if somebody tops them off. And 60% of adults in this country take a prescription medication daily. You do the math on day 31. So picture day 1. The shelves clear in 4 hours. By day 3, people who forgot to fill a bathtub are drinking from swimming pools. By day 7, the insulin crowd is in real trouble. That's roughly 7 million Americans, by the way. By day 14, the kidneys start giving out on the dialysis patients. That's another 500,000. And this isn't even the violence yet. This is just people quietly disappearing because the pharmacy is a shattered door and a pile of empty boxes. The first killer is water, not thirst. Water. You were told you need a gallon a day. That's the floor, not the ceiling. In summer, working, sweating, dragging a cart of stuff through a broken neighborhood, you need 2, maybe 3. And here's what nobody mentions at the Costco prepper aisle. Dehydration doesn't announce itself with a thirsty feeling. It comes as a headache, then as bad decisions, then as a body on the sidewalk that made one bad decision too many. Thirst is a drama queen that shows up late to its own funeral. So what do? You stop thinking like a tourist. You start thinking like a camel with a PhD. You know where every rain barrel, pool creek, hot water tank, and toilet tank in a half-mile radius is before the lights go out. Yeah, your toilet tank, the top part, not the bowl. That's clean water. Most people die within 100 yards of water they didn't know how to drink. You filter with a cheap squeeze filter, you boil, or you use 8 drops of plain bleach per gallon and let it sit for 30 minutes. Simple. The apocalypse is full of simple things people didn't do. The second killer has a face, and that face is your neighbor's. I know. Mrs. Patterson brought you banana bread. But here's the thing. Banana bread doesn't survive starvation. A 1970s study from the University of Minnesota, the Ansel Keys starvation experiment, showed that once a human body drops below about 75% of its normal weight, the personality changes. People who were pacifists started hiding bread under their mattresses. Married men started lying to their wives about crackers. That's at 75%. Your neighbors aren't starving yet on day 3. But day 30, day 40, that's when the mask slips. This is where I have to be honest with you. A few years back, I watched a minor grid failure hit my region for 6 days, nothing dramatic, and by day 4, the guy 2 doors down, a retired teacher, was walking his block at night, checking which houses had generators running so he'd know where to come asking, or worse, when the time came. That was 6 days. Now imagine 90. So what do you actually do about the Mrs. Patterson problem? You go gray. That's the term. Going gray. You look like everybody else. No candles blazing in the windows. No generator humming like a dinner bell. Cook inside. Laugh quiet. Live dim. A noisy house in a dark neighborhood is a lit match in a gas station. You want to look exactly as desperate as everyone else, even when you're not. And speaking of looking desperate, let me break the fourth wall for a second. If you're still watching this, you're already in the top 10%. Most people clicked off at the word FEMA, but if you want more people in your neighborhood to be a little less dangerous when things go sideways, tap that like button. That's not me begging for engagement. That's me trying to get this stuff in front of somebody's cousin who thinks 2 cases of bottled water is a plan. Somebody you love might live because a stranger watched this video. All right, back into the dark. The third killer is the one nobody talks about. Because it isn't sexy, it isn't Raiders, it isn't EMP, it's infection. A scraped knee in a world without antibiotics is a death sentence in slow motion. Before penicillin, the leading cause of death in American hospitals was bacterial infection from cuts and childbirth. Average life expectancy in 1900 was 47. That wasn't because people were soft. It was because bacteria are the original top predator and they never left. We just gave them a nap for 100 years. In the first 90 days, hospitals are overrun, closed, or on fire. A splinter you'd ignore today is a necrotic wound next Tuesday, so you learn to clean, obsessively. You boil water, you wash hands, you keep wounds covered, and clean with soap, not mystery creams. You stockpile the cheap stuff, povidone iodine, the brown stuff, hydrogen peroxide, honey. Yes, raw honey, which has been used on wounds for 4,000 years because bacteria physically cannot breed in it. And you learn the names of the 3 common antibiotics most often used for wound and respiratory infection. I'm not your pharmacist. I'm just saying there are veterinary supply sites that sell identical molecules for fish. Strange world. Now, somewhere between day 30 and day 60, something else happens that the movies never show. The brain breaks. Not everybody's. Yours if you're not ready for it. Psychologists call it acute grief fatigue. Old soldiers call it the 1,000-yard stare. You've been running on adrenaline. The adrenaline runs out. And one morning you sit on the edge of a mattress and you can't remember why you're supposed to stand up. That's where 90% of the deaths you never hear about happen. Not from bullets. From quitting. Here's the part you won't hear anywhere else. Survivors aren't the strongest. They aren't the best armed. They aren't the ones with the bunker full of freeze-dried lasagna. Survivors are the ones with a reason. A kid, a spouse, a dog, a grudge, a god, a garden they planted last spring. When the world stops making sense, the people who live are the people who imported meaning from before the collapse. The ones who didn't are the quiet bodies in the locked bedrooms. Which brings us, finally, to the one habit I promised you at the top. The one thing that separates the 10 from the 90. Ready? It's this. Practice. Not buying. Practicing. Turn your power off on a Saturday. The whole breaker. Cook with what you have. Drink only the water in your house. Read by candle. Do it for 24 hours. Then 48. Then a full weekend. You will find every hole in your plan in the most embarrassing way possible. The flashlight with dead batteries. The stove you can't light. The fact that your kid loses their mind without Wi-Fi by hour 3. Better you find that now than on day 4 when the real clock is ticking. Gear without practice is a costume. That's the whole quote. Write it down. Tape it to your fridge. And before you go, do me a favor. In the comments, tell me the longest stretch you've ever gone without power, water, or heat, and what the one thing was that caught you off guard. Not to brag, to warn somebody else. Someone is scrolling these comments right now, new to all this, and your little 3-day story from that ice storm in 2021 might be the thing that finally makes them fill the bathtub tonight. So picture it again. Day 90. The power is still out, but your tap drips clean because you know where the water lives. Your windows are dark because you learned to disappear. Your scraped hand is healing because you remembered the brown bottle. Your kid is asleep, fed, safe, because you practiced before it mattered. Outside, somebody is still screaming, but it isn't you. It was never going to be you, because you didn't wait for anyone to come. If you want to know what happens on day 91, when the quiet sets in and the real rules start, you already know where the subscribe button is. Don't miss the next one. People who skip these don't get a second warning.